This is Chapter 4 of What Grows After Goodbye by Alexi Hart. The week leading up to Friday seemed to stretch and compress at the same time. The days blurred with errands and routines, but the nights lingered, heavy with anticipation. Natalie found herself paying more attention to little things: the cadence of her footsteps on the hardwood floors, the way afternoon light slanted through her kitchen, the flutter of her heart whenever her phone buzzed with a message from Michael. They texted nearly every day. His messages were a mix of humor and sincerity, as if he couldn't decide whether to tease her or confide in her. She discovered that he hated cilantro. It tastes like soap. That his favorite movie was a documentary about codebreakers, and that he had a habit of staying up too late reading. He discovered that she had an irrational fear of house centipedes, that she liked to dance around the kitchen when no one was watching, and that she owned an embarrassing amount of novelty socks. Do you think less of me if I admit I watched an entire season of The Great British Bake Off in one night? Absolutely not. That's a point in your favor. When are you going to bake me a Victoria sponge? Michael. When are you going to bake me those cinnamon rolls you claim are legendary? Touché. I'll have to ask my grandma's ghost for permission first. On Thursday, Natalie called Jacob. She tried not to call too often, but she also knew her son would interpret her silence as cause for alarm. "Mom!" he exclaimed, sounding breathless. "Sorry, I was leaving the gym." "You go to the gym?" she teased. "I do now. My roommate convinced me." "And how's the peanut butter situation?" "Tragic," he deadpanned. "We have separate jars. Anyway, what's up? Everything okay?" Natalie hesitated. "I have a date tomorrow." There was silence on the other end, then a loud whoop. "Mom! That's awesome!" "I didn't tell you so you could scream in my ear." "Sorry, but I'm excited for you. Who is it? Anyone I know?" "Please don't say Mr. Collins from the hardware store." "It's Michael Lawson." "Wait, Michael? Like Mikey Lawson? The kid who always drew dragons on his sneakers?" "Apparently he's a dragon-drawing, faucet-fixing adult now," she said, smiling. "That's wild. Good for you, Mom. Seriously. Dad he'd be happy you're going out again." His voice softened. He would. Tears pricked her eyes. "Thanks, honey. Call me after and tell me everything. Or don't tell me everything. Tell Aunt Darlene everything. She'll tell me the appropriate amount." Natalie laughed. "Deal. I love you." "Love you too. Don't forget to wear your good jeans, the ones with the pockets that make your butt look amazing." "Jacob!" He hung up with a cackle. Natalie shook her head and set her phone down, warmth spreading through her chest. Her son's blessing felt like a talisman she could clutch when nerves threatened to overwhelm her. On Friday afternoon, Darlene showed up at Natalie's house with a garment bag and a makeup bag large enough to double as a carry-on suitcase. "Absolutely not," Natalie declared when Darlene whipped out a pair of red heels that could double as lethal weapons. "You need to wear these," Darlene insisted, waving them like flags. "They say, 'I'm confident, I'm fun, and I can crush walnuts with my toes.'" "I can't wear those. I'll break my neck." Darlene huffed. "Fine, but you're at least wearing mascara." She plopped her makeup bag on the table and sifted through it like a raccoon rummaging through trash. "Where's my good eyeliner?" Ava took it, that thief. Natalie surrendered herself to her friend's ministrations. Darlene applied blush and mascara with surprising gentleness and only made 3 jokes about contouring. She insisted on curling Natalie's hair into soft waves, then unzipping the garment bag to reveal a knee-length navy dress with a subtle floral pattern. "I thought you might like it," Darlene said, a rare note of uncertainty in her voice. "It's not too fancy, but it's nice. It has pockets." Don't get all sentimental. I had a coupon. Natalie tried on the dress. It fit perfectly, hugging her in all the right places without being constricting. The neckline was modest, but showed enough collarbone. The pockets were deep enough to hide her phone and a tube of lip gloss. She twirled in front of the mirror and felt pretty, which surprised her. She hadn't felt pretty in a long time. She'd felt competent, strong, exhausted, sometimes even cute. But this felt different. "It's perfect," she said, smiling at Darlene through the mirror. "Duh," Darlene said, preening. "Now, put on those sensible heels you insist on wearing and send me a selfie before you leave." "I will," Natalie promised. At 6:45, Michael's truck pulled into her driveway. Natalie's stomach did a somersault. She grabbed her small clutch, took a deep breath, and opened the door. Michael stood on the porch in dark jeans and a crisp white button-down rolled at the sleeves. He carried a bouquet of wildflowers and a shy smile that did more to calm her nerves than any deep breathing exercise could. "Hi," he said, holding out the flowers. "These are for you." "They're beautiful," she replied, taking them. "Thank you." She stepped aside to let him in and quickly placed the flowers in a vase. "You look incredible," he said, sweeping his gaze from her hair to her shoes. It wasn't a leer, more a genuine appreciation that made heat bloom under her skin. "Thank you. You clean up okay yourself." She grabbed her purse and locked the door behind them. "So, where are we going?" "It's a surprise," he said, guiding her toward his truck. She arched an eyebrow as he opened the passenger door for her. "I don't like surprises." "Too bad. This one is a good one." He drove them out of Willow Creek, down a road flanked by fields and Spanish moss-draped trees. The sky was painted with streaks of pink and purple, the sun dipping low. They chatted about trivial things until he turned down a gravel driveway lined with string lights. A small wooden sign came into view, hand-painted with the words, "River Bend Bistro." Natalie's eyebrows shot up. "I've never heard of this place." "So you're taking me to your restaurant?" "Technically, it's his restaurant. I'm a silent partner. But I got us a table outside on the deck overlooking the river. There's live music. Before you panic, I already checked the menu for cilantro." She laughed, nerves melting. "You'd thought of everything." He shrugged, suddenly shy. "I wanted it to be special." The hostess greeted them warmly and led them to a table on the deck. Fireflies hovered like tiny lanterns, and fairy lights twinkled overhead. The air was cooler by the water, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves of nearby trees. A guitar player in the corner strummed softly, singing an old James Taylor song. Natalie's heart gave a little sigh. It was impossible not to be charmed. They ordered cocktails. Natalie chose a blackberry bourbon smash. Michael selected a local IPA and perused the menu. The offerings were a mix of Southern comfort food and modern twists. Shrimp and grits with chorizo, roasted vegetable salad with goat cheese, bourbon-glazed pork tenderloin. The waiter, a cheerful woman with a nose ring, recommended the house-made pimento cheese appetizer. "So," Michael said after they'd ordered, "how do you feel about being on a date again?" Natalie took a sip of her drink. "I feel rusty," she admitted. "It's been a while. I don't know all the rules anymore. Do people still get ghosted? Do you have to post a picture of your food on Instagram to prove you're having a nice time?" Michael chuckled. "The rules are whatever we decide they are. For the record, I promise not to ghost you. I won't post our food unless it's truly spectacular." "Deal." She toyed with her napkin. "What about you? When's the last time you were on a date?" He took a thoughtful sip of his beer. "It's been a while. I dated someone in Atlanta for a couple of years. She was a photographer. We were not on the same page about what we wanted. She wanted to travel constantly, and I was tied up with the company. We ended things amicably. There were a few dates after that, nothing serious. He looked at her, his expression open. It's been a long time since I've felt excited like this. Warmth settled in her chest. It was both flattering and terrifying. Me too. Their appetizer arrived, and conversation flowed easily as they dipped bread into creamy pimento cheese and shared bites of pickled okra. They reminisced about high school, Mrs. Benton's legendary meltdowns, the time Ben convinced everyone to skip class and go to the beach. Natalie had protested, but ultimately went. The prank involving a goat and the math hallway. Michael swore he had nothing to do with it. Natalie told him about the time Jacob dyed his hair blue and insisted it was a form of self-expression. Michael confessed that he once hacked into the school's announcement system to play Never Gonna Give You Up on loop. As the night deepened and the stars emerged, their conversation turned more serious. Natalie found herself talking about Ben in a way she hadn't with anyone outside her inner circle. Ben was safe, she said, tracing the rim of her glass with her finger. He was comfortable. We started dating when we were 16. There was never any question that we would get married. I loved him. But sometimes I think we loved each other more like best friends. We were partners, teammates. We raised Jacob and built a home. It was enough. Then he died, and I had to redefine myself. I had to figure out who I am without being someone's wife or someone's mother. Michael listened, his eyes gentle. Who have you found? She paused. Someone who is still figuring it out. Someone who likes to bake when she's stressed, who buys too many books, who enjoys early morning walks because the world is quiet. Someone who is scared of starting over, but also a little excited by it. I like that someone, he said. She smiled, a bit shy. What about you? Who are you without your company? He leaned back, considering. A man who spent too many years measuring his worth by his productivity. A man who's still learning how to be present. Someone who never expected to make enough money to not worry about it, and who discovered that money doesn't fix things like loneliness or worry. Someone who loves music and good coffee, and who secretly wants to learn how to make pasta from scratch. Natalie laughed. That's oddly specific. I have a lot of free time now, he admitted. His hand drifted across the table, palm up, invitation clear. I'd like to find out who I am with you. Her breath hitched. She placed her hand in his, their fingers sliding together like puzzle pieces. The warmth of his touch radiated up her arm and settled somewhere near her heart. It felt right and new and terrifying all at once. Dinner arrived. Shrimp and grits for her, steak with roasted potatoes for him. And for a while they focused on the food, making appreciative noises and stealing bites from each other's plates. Between mouthfuls, they talked about dreams. She wanted to travel someday. Maybe visit Italy or France, taste food that wasn't drenched in butter, though she loved butter. He confessed he'd always wanted to learn to play the piano properly. He said he'd buy one if he had a place of his own. She promised to hold him to it. After dinner, they shared a slice of lemon custard pie topped with whipped cream. They lingered over coffee, unwilling to let the evening end. The guitarist switched to a slower tune, something bluesy and low. The deck had thinned, other patrons leaving to chase their kids or catch the beginning of the football game on TV. Michael glanced at the small dance floor in front of the musician. Dance? He asked. Natalie hesitated. I already risked public humiliation once this week. They moved to the space in front of the musician. He placed his hand gently on her lower back. She rested hers on his shoulder. They swayed, their feet barely moving, the world narrowing to the warmth of his body and the way their breaths synced. Natalie closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to simply feel the music, the breeze, the slight calluses on his fingers as they brushed the bare skin at the base of her neck. "You smell like vanilla," he murmured, his breath warm against her temple. "I baked cookies this afternoon to keep myself from panicking," she confessed, cheeks flushing. He chuckled. "I should have come over sooner." She pulled back enough to look up at him. The lamplight caught the planes of his face, casting shadows and highlighting the curve of his mouth. His hand slid down her body with a slow, deliberate confidence, fingers playing over her hip before dipping between her thighs. She gasped into his mouth when he found her heat through the fabric, rubbing in small, insistent circles that made her knees go weak. "God," she broke off, because there was no version of her that could stay composed with him touching her like that. He pulled back enough to watch her, eyes dark and hungry. "Tell me what you want," he murmured. Her throat worked. "You. I want you." The answer landed like permission, and his mouth returned to hers as his hand kept working, building pressure until her breath turned shaky and sharp. He looked at her there. She realized she wanted him to kiss her. The thought sent a bolt of heat down her spine. "Let me feel you," he murmured, like it was the only thing that mattered. As if reading her mind, his expression turned serious. "Nat," he said, his voice a question and a promise. She answered by leaning up, erasing the small distance between them. Their lips met. The kiss was gentle at first, exploratory. Her hand slid up to cup his jaw, his fingers tightened on her waist. The world blurred. The kiss deepened, not with desperation, but with a slow reverence that made her toes curl. He tasted like lemon and mint and something uniquely Michael. When they finally broke apart, both breathing a little harder, he rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the salon," he whispered. "I'm glad you waited until my mascara was waterproof," she whispered back, making him laugh. They danced a bit longer, the kiss hanging in the air between them like a shared secret. When they returned to their table, hands still linked, the guitarist shot them a wink. "I think we have a fan," Natalie said, hiding her face behind her hair. "He has good taste," Michael replied, squeezing her hand. Eventually, the time came to leave. Michael paid the bill. She tried to protest. He insisted. And they walked out to the truck. The night had cooled, and crickets serenaded them. Natalie shivered slightly, not from the temperature, but from the aftershocks of the kiss. He didn't let the distance return. He tucked her in against his chest, breathing with her until her heartbeat slowed, thumbs tracing small circles over her skin, like he was memorizing every shiver. "I've got you," he murmured, and she believed it. "This was nice," he said, almost awed. "It was," she agreed. "I don't want to rush anything," he continued, "but I also don't want to pretend that kiss didn't rearrange my world." Her breath hitched. She reached out and took his hand. "Mine too." He squeezed her fingers. "Can I see you again tomorrow? Or is that too soon?" She thought of her empty Saturday. Laundry, maybe meeting Darlene for brunch, answering emails she'd been ignoring. None of it sounded more appealing than seeing him again. "Come over," she said, before she could second-guess herself. "I'll make those cinnamon rolls. We can hang out, talk, watch me burn them." He grinned. "I'll bring the coffee." They leaned toward each other at the same time. This kiss was shorter, but no less sweet. When she stepped out of the truck and stood on her porch, she turned back to him. "Drive safe," she said. "Text me when you're inside," he said, smiling because he couldn't stop. She went inside, locked the door, and leaned back against it, pressing her fingers to her lips. She felt like a teenager again, but also like a woman who knew what she wanted and was allowing herself to have it. Her phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Inside?" "Yes. Are you home?" "Almost." "Good night, Nat." "Good night." No sooner had she set her phone down than another text popped up. "Darlene, are you alive? Did he kiss you? Do I have to come check on you?" Natalie laughed and called her. "I'm fine," she said, when Darlene answered with, "Well?" "Details," Darlene demanded. Natalie sank onto her couch, kicked off her sensible heels, and hugged a throw pillow to her chest. She told Darlene everything, from the wildflowers to the kiss by the river, leaving out only the parts that were hers alone to savor. Darlene squealed appropriately, offered commentary about Michael's excellent taste in restaurants, and insisted that Natalie send her a picture of the flowers. "So when's the wedding?" Darlene joked when Natalie had finished. "Stop it," Natalie said, but she was smiling. "We're taking it slow." "Slow for you means what? Second date tomorrow?" "Yes," Darlene shrieked, and Natalie held the phone away from her ear. After she hung up, Natalie sat in the quiet of her living room. The house didn't feel as empty as it had a week ago. It felt like it was holding its breath along with her. She carried the bouquet of wildflowers to her bedroom, set them on her nightstand, and crawled into bed. She fell asleep with the scent of blossoms in the air and the ghost of Michael's kiss on her lips.